And we're live. So this is the third episode of AndroidMeter, the AndroidMeter show, and today I have Nathan and Max with me. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. How about you, Max?
Doing good.
So before we get started, I wanted to mention that this show is now sponsored by Block. Block is a one-on-one programming lesson program that you can sign up for at their website, that you can learn how to program for Android, iOS, the web, pretty much for anything. They have courses for a lot of different languages. If you sign up and use the coupon code AndroidMeter, you will actually get $200 off of your complete lesson. So to start today off, biggest news in my opinion was Google I/O registration finally opened today after they pushed it off from last week. Did either of you guys register yet?
I still have not.
I am not this year, unfortunately. I just don't have the funding for it.
I'm looking forward
Next
to it.
time. I'll be there with you guys virtually.
I was having fun going through the process. Now just to wait till the 21st and hope that my dreams come true to go again.
How was the process? Was it any different than previously? I know it's the lottery, but like...
They ask you a lot more. Like they've asked you what languages are your preferences, what background, how many years in whatever field you've had, if you have any applications on the Play Store, stuff like that.
Sweet. So maybe it's not quite as random as they've been making it out to be.
That's what I'm hoping.
That actually sounds really similar to the Foundry application.
Yeah, actually, it was a very similar form.
Sweet. Well, then we'll see what happens.
And after last week's show, do you guys have any other idea of any other thoughts of what could come out of I/O this year besides seeing more wearables and maybe a redesigned Android user interface?
Ara. We've got to see something from Project Ara. I mean, they're having a little mini thing right now, but I think they're actually going to also have a entire section just for that. At least a couple sessions. I know they did that for the ADK. ADK? Yeah, ADK whenever they first released that. That was the year before us, and then whenever they revamped it the next year, they had it again. So that's the hardware side of Android development.
What about you, Max? What do you think is going to be there?
I don't know. You know, after the last show, there's not really much else. One thing I would hope. Not really sure if they're going to do anything. I know it's been they've been having a lot of updates on it recently. Would be the actual Android Studio. It'd be cool to see. You know, it actually get to maybe a 1.0 build. Finally, maybe get us out of this quote-unquote beta stage that we've been in. I think we're at 0.5.3, I think, is the last update that I did. I could be wrong on that. They could have another one. Like I said, the last 5 or 6 updates, though, I mean, have been fairly quick. I mean, they're working out bugs relatively quick as soon as they find out. The guys, Alex and Tor and all those guys that are on that project have been doing a great job keeping up with all that stuff. Of course, the development community that's helping them find the bugs and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it would be really cool. I think it's obviously a possibility, especially since it's been a year since they first released that program and trying to switch everything over to using the new Gradle build. So I don't know. I mean, I'd really like to see it. I think it's plausible. Whether or not we will, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and hear from Google.
I think I agree with you there. That would be cool.
I think there'll be a lot more developer side stuff going on this year.
Mm-hmm.
So besides I/O, another thing that happened Google related. There's 3 things that have happened today. The second one is the Glass team decided to just have an open sale of Glass so that anyone could buy theirs. It's still at the $1,500 price, but you get the choice. Instead of automatically getting the normal sunglass add-on, you can either get one of the other 2 premium shades or you can get frames. I mean, it doesn't really affect Nathan and I because we already have Glass, but I know, Max, you've talked about getting it, but I know at this point, this close to a potential release, I know we've all said that it might not be worth spending that amount of money when it's obviously going to get a price decrease in the near future. But do you think a lot of people are going to be joining on to the program?
Yeah, I mean, I still see a lot of people. I was following along their deal. I know they sold out of the cotton edition. Obviously, that's a popular color, just being white. So I mean, that already shows that they had obviously a lot of new. I guess they're still called Explorers. I'm not really sure what they're going to be calling this batch. I guess they're still part of the Explorer program.
We're all Explorers.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if you can call someone is just buying in here at the last moment still an Explorer. I don't know. I don't think it's me personally. I don't think it's worth the money as just Joe Blow kind of wanting to get my hands on it and spending the $1,500 plus tax. However, if I'm a developer or something on that side, and I've been kind of working on a project in the background, I know there's no, like I said, I don't own them yet, but from what I've read and everything I've done development-wise, there's still not a simulator or anything, so they would kind of need the actual device to be able to kind of do any of that. So if they're developing something and they can ultimately, buy this real quick, test out some stuff, and then possibly make it to where they can make some sort of app, to where they can maybe, get some reimbursement back for the, what they put in for the device, I can see it still beneficial in that aspect. But just as, your everyday person, just wanting to get your hands on it early, I really can't justify the $1,500 at this point. I know they just did the release, and I think we're going to talk about this a little later about the 4.4. I guess that was maybe to help draw in some people, but then again there was a whole big deal about that too, about some of the stuff that it did introduce and then took away. So I don't know. I know that was all a pitch and a ploy. I guess we're just going to have to see. I mean, obviously, yeah, I think it's going to draw in a lot of people. I mean, it's Google. They're giving actually a free opportunity here to basically allow anyone in to go ahead and become the end part of the Explorer program. But I don't know, like I said, I can't justify it personally. I think this is ultimately leading to a release date hopefully here soon. I know that they keep saying that as well, but hopefully we'll see that here in the next couple of months or so down the road.
Yeah, I know the Glass team. I follow their tweets. I know that Ellen DeGeneres, yeah, she purchased one today.
Yes.
Of course. Yes.
Maybe one for all of her crowd.
Hey, that'd be cool. Maybe that's where all the cotton went. So, as you mentioned yesterday, they announced that they had finally finished the KitKat update for Glass that they told us explorers about 2 months ago. Right, Nathan? They said they would pause all the updates until they got that done, which I was super excited to hear this was happening because KitKat's going to just bring so much more for the performance and for the back end of Glass. It will make it so much better. I'm waiting for the battery performance to be a lot better and also the voice to text feature, since that's going to be now built into the operating system. That's what I'm most happy about.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I remember back at Foundry when we first got our hands on it, we were all really surprised that it was running not 4.1, not 4.2, but it was running 4.0. And that's kind of been this thing on, it's like, so we have a version of Google now built in that on some updates worked magnificently, and on other versions it was can't reach Google. That's how it's been the last few months. So getting 4.4 in there finally will be a wonderful thing. Having the voice libraries actually built into the device, not having it to actually ping back to a server to identify what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Well, along with that, inside that update, I love how the Glass team attempts to listen to the public, or not the public, but the explorers and their opinions on it. So one of the bigger requests that they actually included with this one was photo bundles. So when you take photos throughout the day, it bundles them all into one single card. So instead of just going through your entire timeline finding one picture, you have nothing but photos, and you can look through all of them.
I'm hoping they do it in a manner where you can say like, okay, Glass, open photo block, or you know, photo group or gallery. I think that'd be really nice.
And then one of the things that I never really thought of, but was photo replies in Hangouts. I've always, if I ever took a photo, I just took a photo and then shared it to the Hangout that I was already part of. I guess that's just supposed to be an addition to like an MMS for Hangouts for your Glass.
Yeah, I think it's just to get rid of one extra feature, because now they have it, or one extra step, not feature. You know, now they have it where you can be in a Hangout, click reply, and then take a picture, right?
Yeah.
And so you're able to just do it directly from there instead of going into a different portion. Granted, on Glass, it's pretty simple to just take a picture and then send it to somebody. But I think it'll be cool to see how they have that implemented.
Yeah, one thing, you know, I was really surprised was actually seeing. I mean, I know we've been hearing about the 4.4 release, but honestly, you know, I'm really surprised that they didn't pull that when Android Wear came out, you know, and try to do something along those lines and maybe push more of the how Android Wear is supposed to be working and stuff like that to the system. I don't know. I mean, the 4.4 is obviously I don't have it, you know. It's an awesome deal to finally get that update. But then again, like I was saying, I know there was a big rant for a while that was going on because it took away the video chatting ability on that. Now I'm not sure if that's justifiable because, like I said, I don't personally have one. But I can see, you know, from an outside deal and having actually been able to participate at one of the Google Glass when they came here to Austin, I was able to go down and participate in that and see exactly what Glass was all about. So I can see that, though, you know, just even having my hands on it once, how that would kind of limit some of the interactiveness that the device is kind of, I don't want to say based around, but I mean, that's kind of a big block to kind of just cut out, in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
How do you guys feel about that?
I'm friends with a lot of explorers on Google Plus, and a lot of them they were just kind of complaining a little bit. Like, they do it from time to time with their family or friends when they're like, they need technical support, or they just want to show them something. I personally never use the feature, so it doesn't affect me, but I understand where people are coming from. The big one I'm seeing is the people that are using Glass for medical, because a lot of, if they're not just recording the procedure or whatever, they're not podcasting it, they're actually doing a hangout on air so that people can see the procedure, so students can learn from it. And I see a lot of people were using it for a business, and I can see them being very upset that they're taking this out. I mean, yes, it is kind of buggy, and yes, the Glass team did promise that they would bring it back once it works better, but I think they're taking away a very key feature of Glass's capabilities without really giving the explorers a way to work around it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I never really used it too often because unless you were on a pretty stable Wi-Fi connection, it normally would drop on me, or it'd be a little laggy behind to where it could be a little off-putting. But at the same time, part of their original thing of oh dang, look, it's Glass, we've got this thing, even going back to before we saw actual footage of the device running, that was one of the core concepts that they were pushing. That was one of the biggest things that they're saying, we can make it where anybody you care about can see what you're seeing when you're seeing it. You know, and so removing that is kind of put off. I really hope it's something where they get it back within a month. You know, I hope they switch back to doing the monthly updates, and I hope it's very quickly that it's there. But I kind of am a strong believer of if you're going to have a feature in something, you don't axe it just because it's not working quite the way it's expected, especially whenever you go and say that 10% of your users actually use it. I mean, that's not a small number. It's a decent size.
Yeah.
So it's more of if you know it's a problem, and you know it's been a problem since the beginning, maybe say a fix is coming. We're going to update this feature in the near future. Don't just say, well, we found not 100% of people are using it anyways, and it's kind of broken, so we'll just take it out and put it on the side for now and see if we get to it.
Yeah, I really hope, since the update hasn't come out yet, that they've seen so much backlash from the explorers that they will decide not to take it out.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping that happens.
I'm right there
Yeah.
with you. Because I was actually hoping that with the 4.4, that might be more stable and more usable. That was my hope.
Yeah, I
So
think it's kind of funny to see, I mean, if you go back and even, I'm pretty sure it's still on their webpage. I mean, that was like their whole introductory video. I mean, it was basically about, someone being able to go around and share their deal, whether it be, someone was up, I think, in a hot air balloon, and the other guy was, serenading his girlfriend and stuff like that. I mean, that was like their whole big spiel about, introducing glass. And even, I believe Nathan, I think was it last year or the year before, when they first introduced this at I/O. I mean, that was their whole
Yes.
thing. They came in riding on, mountain bikes and stuff like that, and the whole team came down, and it was, yeah, I mean, that whole cool introduction was, it was all streamed from the next to the next, and you could see exactly what was going on. And now to just strip that, it's like, I don't want to say it was their key aspect of the device or a key deal, but I mean, it really was. And I mean, just to say, oh, well, someone's not using it or X amount of percentage isn't using it, I mean, that I don't see that as a justification. And like I said, I mean, this is still the Explorer program. There's obviously going to be quirks. There's going to be bugs to fix. I mean, this isn't an actual phone running it. I mean, it's very similar in some ways of the capabilities, but in another field, I mean, it's something totally different. I mean, it's a wearable device, and so I mean, there's obviously going to be some things that are going to have to be looked at and adjusted accordingly. So I don't know. It's just, I don't think, like you said, I don't think they should just axe it completely. As a matter of fact, I wonder what's going to happen now that if they do end up releasing it to public without that capability. I wonder if that's actually going to hinder the number of sales and people wanting to actually get in on it. Because I can see a lot more people wanting to buy it and saying, hey, I bought this, mom that lives, across the country. Hey, you go buy this, and then we can do this deal, instead of having to be, connected to the phone or a computer all the time. We can just, do these hangout, these video calls. Now without that, I don't know if there's going to be what's the word I'm looking for? A decline of new users or someone wanting to buy it because of that reason. But like I said, I mean, that's all for the future to see. We haven't even really gotten a glimpse of what the final deal will be of Google Glass, if they change anything on it or not. So it's just something we're going to have to wait and watch.
Yeah. I think really all we can hope for right now is that they have it as a high priority to get fixed and work on fixing it ASAP, and get it back in there. Because the biggest people that I noticed that were kind of, they weren't, I didn't see them rant about it or anything like that, but in the initial post on the Glass Google Plus page where they said, hey, 4.4, by the way, no video calls. You had some of the biggest people that have really gotten Glass to be where it's at. David Lee, for example, was just, I use this a lot, and I'm kind of sad to see it go. And a lot of the people that are actually at the forefront of using Glass for business purposes, they weren't very happy about it. So
there's a commercial that's going around in Vegas right now for an air conditioning company that one of their selling points is that they're really high tech, and that when they do their inspection, they can do a live stream of the inspection so that the customer doesn't have to get in the roof or something like that with
we
them.
talked to that guy, didn't we?
I think so, yeah.
I thought we talked to him at CES over by the Vizio booth, and he was like, hey, do you think these would be able to do what we're looking for?
and that just takes away that whole unique niche that they had. You can no longer say, hey, we're going to do this stream, pull up your tablet or your phone, and you can listen and hear everything that I'm inspecting, and you can see exactly what's wrong.
Hmm.
And that just killed it.
Now, to be fair, it is not that Glass is completely without any type of live streaming capabilities
No,
anymore.
because Livestream has their app.
Exactly. Livestream just came out, and from everything I've heard, that actually works pretty darn well. I haven't tried it yet.
It works well, but you have to before you decide to. You can't just call someone up, or you can't
Okay.
just go live. You have to go to your computer, create the event, invite people into it, and then once once they know the date and the time or whatever, you go to it, you send it to your glass, then through your glass you say activate the event.
Okay.
It's so much. It's more. It's live stream. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. But I mean, it works well for a lot of the purposes that we're talking about, at least.
Of course, but
You know, it's something where Hangouts were a lot more impromptu. You know, you could do them whenever you wanted to,
exactly.
as long as you had the connection. So they're great for friends, but for any businesses, I think Livestream will probably be good enough for now.
Yeah, for the time being, like they will be able to make it work. It's just it won't be Hangouts. It won't be here. Let me show you something really quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I think if the well, I think there could be two different things. If their target price wasn't so high at $1,500, or if they would have been able to, I say, have more Glass Explorers, I bet you their entire thing, and this is just my opinion, obviously, but I think that a lot of this would actually have been not done, or they would have rethought possibly taking out the Hangouts, because you would have had a higher user volume. You would have had more people doing, like you're saying, maybe doing more work-related stuff, or just wanting to actually get together. And as far as the live stream thing goes, obviously I don't have Google Glass, but I can see them maybe possibly. I mean, there's a huge hole now, and so I mean, if they want to play it smart and do it right, I can actually see them probably, because this update just happened. I can see them probably working on maybe something to where you don't have to go about the desktop version to create all that. Now that they know that there might be this hole, and if not, I mean, then that's up to them. But I can obviously see a hole there that they could easily grab and make it easier for the user now that Google Hangouts is actually gone, or that part of the video calling. So I mean, it's all just a possibility, something that they could easily do probably, and get a bigger target audience than for just them specifically.
That's fair. So kind of like now that it's gone, they can rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a hole,
right this time.
and why not fill it? Google took it out. Not to say that it's not going to come back, but for the time being, I mean, their user base could jump exponentially if they pulled it off right. So I mean, it's an opportunity for them.
That's a very good point. So, two other features that were introduced or are being introduced since this update isn't out yet is sending feedback and directly from Glass, and they are now sorting the voice commands. So jumping back to the feedback, I love that because everyone is lazy. No matter what, so you'll find something wrong with your Glass. You'll find a little quirk, and you're like, oh, I wish this would be fixed. But you're not going to remember to do it. You're not going to go home, jump on your computer, jump to their website, send a little feedback box. Now you can literally go to your settings, go to the feedback, and say, verbally tell them,
This sucks. Yeah.
So I love that feature. I think it'll be used a lot, and I think they'll be getting a lot more feedback that's needed. The second one is voice command sorting. I love that because I have a decent amount of choices on my Glass that I really don't use. But I use the music one a lot, and so there's it's not alphabetically ordered, so I don't know where they got their sort order or anything like that.
It's based on when you install them, I think.
Okay. Well, anyway, I use the music a lot, so it would show up at the top of my list instead of being somewhere in the lower quarter or wherever it's located at this moment. I just love that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're doing the voice, you would have if you don't know the command by heart, you'd have to look for it. So that makes it a little bit easier, but it's mainly for when you do it without voicing or tapping, so you don't have to just keep scrolling for half an hour.
Yeah. I know my music is near the end too, and that's probably the one that I normally like to use more often. And the music is often one that I like to try and use more discreetly, I guess. Not necessarily say, okay, Glass, listen to blah, 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 blah. It's sometimes easier for some of the different stations I have or the different playlists I have currently to just tap to it, but with it being at the end of the list, it makes there be a lot of swiping to get there. You almost always end up doing the full swipe to get it to go really, really fast.
And then to go
and then
back
just
to it.
swipe back like 2 or 3. You've been there.
That's how I get to it. I kind of know where it's at, and so I'll just swipe and then pause it and then swipe to it.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that goes off of, I guess, most used commands. Then is that how that's being populated now?
That's how it's going to start sorting. Is it's gonna know that you've called the music up 5 times when you called everything else 0, and so it's going to bump it up closer to the beginning.
So it's one of those features that they decided to implement that just makes sense and should have probably been, done at the beginning.
Exactly.
The previous interface was done kind of before you had apps that could be launched from the voice menu. So previously you just had the stock things of, okay, Glass, Google, send a message or take a picture, record a video, things like that. And then whenever they opened up the GDK, instead of just having the Mirror API, because Mirror API was just meant to send you basically updates on stuff. It wasn't necessarily you opened an app. Then they made it where you can open an app, and they just didn't change anything for that. So.
Yeah, originally they wanted that menu to be really clean, so they were only going to let approved words and sayings and stuff in there. And so now developers, they've opened it up with the GDK, as Nathan was saying. Now developers can write in the code what the voice command would be. So, okay, Glass, play a song, or okay, Glass, do whatever.
Right.
Okay. And so, it makes sense that they're finally sorting them. So, while I still almost wish they would leave the key commands like take a picture and everything else at the top, I can understand if that gets sorted into the mix as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, if it is sorting by for sure, what you use the most, then even though if those gets sorted down the list, it should still be very beneficial.
They should come up with I don't know if it's possible because I haven't looked into a whole bunch of the GDK and even possibly maybe it's not even part of that. Maybe it's just part of how Android or how the Glass team has written the software specifically for that list. But it'd be cool, I guess, if you could even just pin certain things, probably towards the top of the list, that you always want to stay up there that don't get cycled, like you're saying.
That'd be cool. I know they have it where you can pin cards before the list, so you can swipe back. I have my stocks, even though I don't own any stocks, I have my stocks there. Any Google Now related things show up there.
Your stocks stay there because that's Google Now. But if you
no, the stocks I have are through an app.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess I hadn't heard about that.
It looks just like Google Now though. But you can pin I think a Facebook app there and stuff like that. But that'd be cool if you could actually go and tap into something and then be swipe forward, pin to top, or have a manual sorting method as well, as opposed to just relying on it to always know what you want. Even though Google's pretty good at that, kind of to a creepy level sometimes.
So have y'all gotten the updates?
Huh?
Have y'all both gotten the updates yet or not?
I haven't yet.
They
I
have.
don't think it's out yet. I don't think it's until later this
I
week.
saw a lot of the 4. Maybe, yeah, maybe it was some other stuff. I don't know. I think it would be pretty funny if they took their deal from mobile on the feedback. You were saying that they did feedback as well, Justin. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It'd be pretty funny if they took their phone gesture, where like if you shake the device in Google Plus or whatever, then it brings up the feedback. It'd be pretty funny, see a whole bunch of people shaking their head in like frustration. That would then like activate the feedback. They'd just be like, ah!
Would you like to report feedback?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Glass, scream!
I could. It's possible they could do it.
They
Oh
might
yeah,
even
it would
put
just
that
be
in
funny.
as, like a Easter egg. Although if somebody's just like mountain biking or something like that with it on, and it bounces them a lot, that would probably get really frustrating.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for the latest update for Glass. Hopefully, we'll be seeing that in the next couple days. They said it'll be out this week, whereas normally when they announce the update, they are pushing it at that moment. But it kind of made sense that it probably wasn't fully ready, but they're gonna push it out, and they wanted it to be known about before people start buying Glass today for the free for all or whatever.
Yeah.
So the last thing
Hey, real quick, let's back up on that just for 1 second. Is that going to be the XE16?
Yes.
Is that,
That would be the name, huh? 16?
I'm sorry?
That should be XE16.
Correct. Just scrolling through my Google Plus real quick, the last like 10 things I see on here is everybody's getting updates for it.
Updates will push it out?
Yeah, so just to let you guys heads up that the update looks like it's been released. Some people, maybe it's dependent on region or something, but I see a lot of people getting the updates.
Well, I've officially just plugged my Glass in.
I've had it plugged in all day, so...
I'm still on 12, but so I'm gonna look weird with the cable going across my face.
Anyways, we can go ahead and move on. I just thought I'd put that out there that I do see quite a few screenshots of the update being posted as of today. So
I'm still 12. Dang.
Okay, so the last thing that's happened today is the Project Ara team had their developer conference, and I didn't get to watch a lot of the keynote. I saw that they were kind of going more in depth in their process of making the hardware and making the bits, but you would know more about it, Max.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it. Just to put this out there, the conference is a 2-day conference, and it does stretch pretty lengthy. I know they took an intermission for lunch and even came back afterwards. So it does, like you said, Justin, go more into a lot of the build stuff, because obviously this is going to be for a modular phone. So it's not just, hey, look at this pretty phone, this is what we've done, these are the configurations, buy it, when we release it type deal. They're going into a lot more of how the hardware stuff is going to work, because essentially, from what I got from the gist of it, is that there's both going to be the developers that can obviously write code for things on it, but also people that are going to be able to make these, quote, modules that are going to be able to be, I guess, then bought. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, if they're going to, if it's going to be like a hackable. I mean, I know it's built like a hackable thing, but I'm not sure if you're going to maybe submit your quote-unquote module to maybe Google or something, and how that process works. I didn't watch too much of the keynote, but so they do go into a lot more depth on the modules, even how or why they decided to go this way. A lot of the big deal usually with modules is, your battery life is bad, the phone becomes big and clunky and slow. So they went over a lot of the things of why they were able to still do this. I mean, there is a little bit of sacrifice, but basically their justification behind that is that, you're going to have this phone for possibly, I think they were saying 5 to 6 years, and even the reason that there's still a time limit on it is because of the board it's going to be using. But as far as having to update every 1 to 3, I mean, it's a huge significance. So, you know, I mean, you're going to take away a little bit of that. Plus, you're also going to have the actual customization, not of like just, oh, I'm going to go buy a cover for this phone or a different deal, or I can even get it in different colors, which was cool, you know, which was something that we first saw really get blown up with the Moto X and the huge and vast number of different customizations that you can do there with their Moto Maker. But each module will actually be able to be customizable. I know they've got some people working on some 3D printing company. I think it's, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but they're working specifically with them there. That way you can have different components. They have a whole deal, like a mini app that's going to be coming out on the phone that will allow you to basically see how all the different components will look together. There's a lot of different cool things on there. What I thought was real cool is, you know, while it took the key speaker in the beginning to kind of forever to actually show us the phone because they were going over these details. I mean, it wasn't obviously a Steve Jobs deal or even a Tim Cook deal where they just get up there and show off their latest deal. I felt it justifiable. He really wanted to go over the backstory on the phone, how it's possible, where it's going, things of that nature. But when we did finally see the phone, I have to say, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to disappoint anybody here or upset anybody, but you don't bring a broken phone to your first conference. I mean, I understand things.
Broken, or was it just not finished?
No, he said that they broke the screen. He said the LCD was busted and that it for some reason wasn't booting. I'm not sure if that's something that happens because the LCD was broken, or if it wasn't, like you were saying, wasn't completely finished. But I mean, we weren't able to see anything. He is saying that he could possibly have a different phone, or maybe quote unquote maybe a replacement part or something for that, and that we might be able to see something tomorrow. So you know, you'll just have to tune in again tomorrow through the Aura, Project Aura live stream there that they have.
It might have been
cool
just
things.
a way to get people to keep watching.
But it's just the whole point.
Maybe,
of
but the whole deal, yeah, the whole thing though was, you know, I mean, it was that we want to see that, and like I said, I mean, he did take a little bit of a lengthy time to finally get to it, and then, you know, we were all there and we're like, all right, awesome, you know, here's the phone. Let's you know, see you swipe through a few things, and he's like, oh, by the way, it's broken, and I don't have the replacement part on hand to fix it, and the system's not going to boot because of it, and everything. So I don't know. I don't want to say I felt let down. I mean, I do know that the team's done an excellent job. I'm a huge supporter of this. I have been since before we even heard about it, and it was just a conceptual idea known as phone blocks. And then, of course, they realized, you know, hey, Google's kind of already working on something like this. So I mean, it is cool. I did like the fact that they went over the modules as well. Go ahead, Justin.
For me, it's just the whole point of this phone is that if a part breaks, you should be able to, you can just go buy another one and slip it in. You would think they would have at least one screen somewhere floating around in this whole developers conference.
Exactly. Maybe it's like, you know, Nathan said, maybe it's a ploy. I don't know. But it was cool, like you were saying, though, you know, about, you know, things being able to swap out. It was cool, you know, while we didn't see the phone work, he did still go over taking the modules off, being able to pull these quote-unquote shells, which is basically what houses these modules, or is basically the cover that goes over these modules that are then customizable. You're going to be able to get them, you know, in a vast array of different things, have, you know, pictures printed on them and different textures and stuff like that. So it was cool to see him actually dig into that, pull that apart, you know, and show off some of the different modules. I did see some of their stuff that they did work around. Like we all thought, I'm not sure if y'all had seen their actual deal, but on their pages and stuff, if you look at one of the corners, it looks like a camera, and it always protruded out. And, you know, that was a big thing. We're like, well, why can't the camera be flat and everything else? It was pretty cool though. It was actually a thermal imaging camera, so that was pretty cool. And he said that they did that for two reasons. You know, one, to show what would happen if the block for some reason did have to push out into the z-axis and how that offset would look. And then also because of, I think he said something about the camera functionality not even really being able to work yet. So they kind of cheated in an essence, just to kind of get that all put together though. But ultimately, I think they've done a great job. I think this is going to be a huge game changer. Like they were saying, the phone base itself, I think they call it an endoskeleton, which is basically the board that has all the slots and everything, will be able to then last you, relatively 5 or 6 years. And that's just dependent on basically, it's basically a motherboard at that point. And
That's awesome.
it will have to get updated at some point, and there may be some kind of trade-in program and stuff like that. But no, I'm real excited. I'll probably tune in again tomorrow. Like I said, it is kind of lengthy. It does get real heavy on developer stuff. But all in all, I mean, if you're trying to keep up with this and you've been a follower this far, I mean, it does have a lot of good information in it.
I know when they released the pre-release of the MDK last week, I didn't really get a lot of time to dig into it, but the one thing I was excited to see is that they're trying to bring out 3 different sizes. A
Correct.
smaller, slimmer, almost iPhone size build.
Yeah, I believe it's a 2x5, and then they have their 4x, or no, maybe it was a 2x4, and then a 4x5, and then like a 5x7. I know they're planning on shooting for the middle range in the beginning, and from what they were saying is I guess they've named it or code naming it basically the gray phone, and this is what everyone's heard about for the $50 range. I was a little disappointed when they were talking about though as far as what it's going to do and its purpose. Really, I kind of feel a little cheated with their gray phone. Basically, it's going to have a screen. It'll have a module to connect to Wi-Fi. And it'll be running some of the stuff on there. Basically, the main thing that they're going to run is that program, like we caught eyes on in one of their previous YouTube videos of how the modules will look put together. And that's basically the phone. I mean, it's not going to have anything else. You're basically going to have to connect to a hotspot or a Wi-Fi signal, and then you're going to be able to go through and figure out what parts you want from there to then customize this phone. And that's the reason they actually do it in gray, is so that you'll have the gumption to want to customize it. But I don't know. I felt like they were saying, oh, we're gonna get this full-fledged phone for $50. I don't know. I felt a little cheated, but I can understand. I mean, obviously for $50, it's a good starting point. I think they'll do good with that. So
Seems like you get an iPod Touch kind of thing for about $50.
yeah,
Which isn't too bad.
Yeah, we'll have to see what it can actually function-wise do.
That's a good point.
Because that was a huge thing too. Is that this phone, being the way it's built, and I didn't really catch everything he was saying. It was still a little over my head and trying to figure out how everything works as far as these modules go. But it's unable at that point to run Android. And basically, Justin, I'm not sure if you caught any of this. He was basically, from what I was understanding, is that each module was then basically being treated almost like a USB port type of deal, and that they're using a different type of software and stuff to run everything. So, like I said, the $50 model is basically, from what I was understanding, is just going to basically have that main app on there. It might be able to do a couple other things, and it's going to connect to Wi-Fi, so you can do all that. So I don't know. I don't even think you can place a phone call or anything, using VoIP or anything like that. So it's just going to be.
Limits it, but it's nice that they're starting off cheap. They're not going to be like.
True, and that's their whole thing.
$500 and then add on.
I mean, I can't even buy a screen to replace a lot of phone screens for $50.
That's very true. Yeah. So like I said, I mean, it's nice that they do start at that deal, and their whole deal is, I think it's on their website, something about trying to get the next 6 billion people to actually have a phone. Because, I mean, while it may seem second nature to you and I mean, y'all are all wearing Google Glass, so, I mean, you're even a step above, I don't want to say the norm, but, I mean, just people that are just running around just with a cell phone, they think that's already, is a lot to be doing. There are still people out there in this world that don't have a cellular device or anything like that. And so they're trying to target those people with that kind of gray phone deal. This whole modular thing, just make it very simple, very easy to use type of approach. And I commend them for that. I mean, we need to get everybody at least to a minimum playing field. So
I do want to step in really fast. When we mentioned the glass update, if you go to your settings and then to the page where it talks about which version of the OS you're on. You tap it and it says install update. You just need 50% battery. I'm installing it right now.
Excuse
It's
me,
glass
I'll
update.
disappear for a minute.
But to add on to what we were talking about, I'm most excited for the modularity because I can change how my phone is. I love how HTC has on their HTC One how they have the front-facing speakers. I can make my phone, if I want it to be a media device, I can put it so that it has front-facing speakers. But then at the same time, I can change that out, put a smaller screen, and put a physical keyboard on there for days that I know I'm going to be typing a lot or something. That's what I love about the modularity. I can just make it my own device every single day.
That's a very good point. Yeah, and I want to see, personally, I would like to see some of your current chip manufacturers that aren't necessarily in phone market. Specifically, I would love to see what Arduino does with something like this.
That would be cool.
I would love to have a phone that is basically Arduino everything. Be sick.
Okay, so do you guys have anything else to talk about today? Anything else in the tech world that I've missed?
Trying to think. I think I had something a little bit ago, but I forgot it.
Can I get distracted by the class update?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I've been waiting for the last 10 minutes to talk about it. I've been waiting till my glass had enough charge so that I could update it. As we close off this episode, I do want to mention again that our show is now sponsored by Block, and if you do mention AndroidMeter while signing up, you will get $200 off of their service, which is a great deal for them or for you, and it's a huge amount of money off. It's a great service. You can learn to program in a multitude of different languages and work on different platforms. After the show, you can also catch up on all of our shows, either on the AndroidMeter website, just go to the top header where it says the AndroidMeter Show, or we are also on iTunes. The video will be on YouTube, and then we are also on Pocket Cast and Stitcher. So if you want to catch up with any of the 3 episodes that we've filmed so far, just head on over there. Besides that, we'll be back next Tuesday. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more information about Google I/O since we will know who is going and if we got in or not, and anything else that breaks the next week. So if that's it, this has been the 3rd episode of AndroidMeter, the AndroidMeter Show. Thank you, Max and Nathan, for being on.
Yeah, you bet.
And we'll see you all next week.
Later, everybody.